Random J Productions welcomes you to the Daytona International Speedway as we are live here at the World Center of Racing for the 2026 running of the WeatherTech Duels. And for the second year in a row, this will be a race live streamed onto the channel. And before we get duel number 1 and duel number 2 started, take a look at the format for this year's WeatherTech Duels. Very similar to previous years, but of course this being a standalone event versus a oh, there goes my iPad, but ignore that. Take a look at the duel format, very similar to previous years, but as I was saying, because this is a standalone Firecracker 400, no points are awarded for this year's edition of the duels. So each duel's lineup was randomly sorted. That will be shown on the very next screen, alongside the starting lineups. And new for the duels this year, we're going to have 15 laps this year. Last year was 14. This year we're gonna tack on another lap to make it 15 laps, the longest WeatherTech duels to date. So duel number 1 will set the inside spots for rows 14 and 18, while duel number 2 will set the outside spots for rows 4 to 18 for the Firecracker 400 on Saturday night. The top 2 finishers of each duel, like previous years, will move on to Wednesday's Fast 6 to set rows 1 to 3. And if we do have cautions, we'll have shorter caution laps, only 2 caution laps as opposed to 4 caution laps, so similar to how long cautions would be on a road course because this is a shorter race, and no green, white, checkered finishes for these WeatherTech duels if necessary. So if the format all out of the way there, take a look at the lineups for each duels. This is not the starting lineups, that'll be on the very next screen, or the screen after the track info, but if your favorite drivers, and just keep it in mind, these will be the drivers we're gonna race first on the left side of your screen, or the drivers on the right side of your screen will race later on this stream. But now let's take a look at the track info here at Daytona. 15 laps for each duel, as previously mentioned, on this 2.5 mile long super speedway with 33 degrees of banking in the corners, in both corners. And as for the weather here in Daytona, 86 degrees Fahrenheit with 7 mile per hour towards the southwest. And of course, as I said, since these are shorter races, there will be no pit stops, so fuel and tire window will not be relevant for this race. But I should mention too, because we're using the Cup cars, they go faster than the previous GNS cars for both the Golf Summer Series and the Palm Summer League. The fuel and tire window will be shorter in the main Firecracker 400 on Saturday night. If anything, it'll actually be closer to how long each duel is, so it could give a good chance for drivers, to help to manage their fuel and tires better. They can use this duel to help manage the fuel and tire better in the main race. But anyways, without further ado, let's take a look at the starting lineup for WeatherTech Duel number 1, which are all, of course, randomly sorted. So on the pole is the 08 of Mr. Peptoman in the Kyle Busch tribute scheme, and next to him, Alex Cass Stevens in the Kobe Bryant tribute paint scheme. Let me make sure. Okay, yeah, it's going on. Row 2, Jackson Burgum in the 24 in his second Firecracker attempt, and also in his second Firecracker attempt is Alexander Rowe in the 41. Row 3, Anthony Hernandez, who has won the duel race in years past, and next to him, Wyatt Rocker in his first Firecracker and duel attempt. Row 4, oh, I forgot to change the graphic there. That's not the 08. The 97 of Tim Simmons, and Ronald Kennington, the 36. Row 5, Time Carson, the 43, and Nia Marneski in the 66. Row 6, Joe T in the 78, and Roberto Crown in the 88 car. Both drivers are no stranger to Firecracker Week here this week, as well as the duels. Row 7, Frey in the 22, and the 4, the 2023 Palm Summer League champion Brendan Beal in the 4 car. Oh, I stuttered there, but still. Row 8, the reigning PSO champion Matthew Hubert, and next to him the 2023 Firecracker 400 winner Nick Sand, the 47. And finally, in row number 9, Brian Rodriguez in the 23, and channel veteran Brad Dureem in the 9 car. So with that all out of the way, it is time to get things going here in WeatherTech Duel number 1. As hopefully NR cannot glitch out. Seems to be working so far. Let me just skip to the... Oh, okay. Here we go. So, of course, this is the first time our very special Camaro pace car takes to the track. Kyle Busch tribute paint scheme. Cool stuff there. But here is the field. Of course, being a dual race and not a main points race, or a regular race in general, it's definitely interesting to see how big these packs will get. Last year, the packs were kind of like in the middle, somewhat big, somewhat small. But we're going to have to wait and see what will transpire in this first WeatherTech Duel in the 2026 Firecracker Week on America's 250th birthday. Here we go. Pace car down pit road as Mr. Peptoman and Cat Stevens lead the field to green in the first WeatherTech Duel. Question before the start of this race, just how the packs were going to be. See drivers already going 3 wide, thus the drivers towards the back of the pack, like Nick Sant, Joe T, Roberto Brown now falling back. While lap number 1 looks like, I believe, is it Virgo? No, it's Peptoman who let this time by, but Anthony Hernandez is racing no time into turn number 1, going 3 wide on both Bergam and Peptoman. And Hernandez has the 97 of Tim Simmons right behind him to help. Hernandez will clear for the lead off turn number 2, move up to the outside in front of the fellow Chevy with Bergam, with Tim Simmons also doing the same in the 97, moving to the middle, opening door for the 43 of Time Karsh to be the lead driver in the inside lane. So we got three Firecracker rookies on an inside lane. Simmons, Karsh, and the 22 of Frey on an inside lane as previously mentioned, and that's gonna. And meanwhile, Peptoman's gonna move. Is gonna get shuffled out to the outside because of Hernandez right there. As Hernandez leads lap number 2 for 15. So far, this pack is mostly 2 by 2, but again, we still got drivers in the middle line trying to make it 3 wide. That time looks like the driver in the lead in the lead group, the lead driver in the middle, I should say, is Wyatt Rocker to 56. Ian Marinacci also trying to join the 56 as well, but so far the middle lane has no momentum whatsoever. But still, of course, very early into this rather short race to see Joe T back there moving down to the inside lane. Lap number 3, once again, Anthony Hernandez will lead this time by. And unlike in years past, Anthony doesn't have his spotter Johnny Hernandez to rely on, neither in this duel or in the race in general, as Hernandez is the sole Hernandez participating in this week's Firecracker activities. And of course, the Firecracker has eluded both Johnny and Anthony throughout their entire careers on this channel. They've won everything there is to win, except the summer's biggest race. Could this year finally be the year for the driver to 48 as he moves up to the outside in front of the fellow Chevy and Bergam. Tim Simmons still remains steady in the inside lane. New turns 3 and 4, he gets a huge run thanks to Karsh, as both Simmons and Hernandez now going to be side by side for the lead off turn number 4. Coming back to the rival once again. Still side by side between Hernandez and Simmons. Coming to the line. Hernandez still maintains the lead that time by, but with Hernandez stuck in the outside lane, Simmons is going to continue to get a strong run here, especially into turn number 1. You saw the run Hernandez got on the outside lane. The outside gets really good runs going into the corners, but off the corners and inside is the place to be in, and Simmons is going to take full advantage of that off turn number 2, but still down the back straightaway he remains dead heat for the lead with Hernandez. Meanwhile, the pack behind him is all 3 by 3. This is probably going to receive throughout most of the Firecracker 400 on Saturday night. All this 3 by 3 pack, and you can see even in the duels, these drivers are wasting no time practicing the formation, like this pack formation that they're likely going to replicate on Saturday night. Once again, coming to lap number 6 that time by Hernandez, continues to lead, or is that, yeah, lap number 6, Hernandez continues to lead. Tim Simmons still side by side with the 48. As Simmons moves up to the middle as well as Karsh, before Simmons immediately moves back onto the inside, round in front of Frey. Well, as I say that, Simmons is going to actually remain committed to the middle line. That leaves Frey now the lead driver. The fellow Ford of Matthew Hubert giving Frey a shot into turn number 3. But as I say that, both Hernandez and Simmons move down to the racetrack and once again remain side by side off turn number 4 for this lead. So far, looks like the two dominant drivers in this duel is both Hernandez and Simmons. As we come to lap number 7, Hernandez leads yet another lap. And these two remain side by side as we have now less than in the closing portions of this duel. Now Hernandez to off turn number 2, lost ground on the outside lane. He lost a lot of spots there. He's probably now going to be stuck in this swarm right behind him. Simmons now the lead. Here comes Hubert for strong ground into turn number 3. A foul from Brian Rodriguez, of course, two of the championship contenders during last year's Palm Summer Week. Now also in this inside lane is Nick Sant, the former Firecracker 400 winner from 2023, trying to insert himself in this race for the win in this duel. And of course, just to reiterate, everyone who finishes inside the top 3, both in this duel and in the next duel shortly after this one, will move on to the Fast 6. And even though a lot of people argue, like, qualifying doesn't really matter for super speeders, I'd argue the opposite, as it, kind of helps, because most super speeder races in NR, just in general, kind of have a sort of cycle, between drivers at the front, drivers at the back. And you definitely want to time your cycle not too early, but also not too late either. And I think the qualifying spots during these restarts definitely are a big factor in these races. Anyways, Tim Simmons once again leads, coming to lap number 9 to 15. Two forwards of Frey and Hubert now side by side. Here's Rodriguez now making it 3 wide into turn number 1 for a second. Carstairs nearly got on the wall that time by. He's going to be 3 wide also with Anthony Hernandez and Joe Team 78. Nick Sant also continues to make his way up towards the front. Let's go on board for driver back. Nick Sant continues to make committed to the inside lane, helping out the 23 of Brian Rodriguez, I should say. Right behind the Joe Team, these are two drivers who started towards the back of the pack. And are making the absolute most of it here. Meanwhile, the driver who started towards the front, the two drivers who started towards the front, that being Peptoman and Cass Stevens, are way back in this pack. And if they want to make a move, they probably need to get down to the inside quick if they even want a chance to get into Fast 6 on Wednesday. Once again, down the back straightaway, Tim Simmons continues to lead. He and Hernandez have been the two dominant drivers so far in this race. But they're still coming this time by. We're gonna come to 5 laps to go. Very much anyone still has a shot to win this race, as well as to lock themselves in the Fast 6 as they come off turn 4 once again. Rodriguez maintains second. Nick Sant now side by side of Hubert for third. Coming to 5 laps to go, and here in WeatherTech Duel number 1. Meanwhile, now in the turn number 1, the top 2 are pulling away from the rest of the pack. That's probably not a good idea from either of them. But here comes Rodriguez looking to the inside of Simmons, trying to go for the lead. And the reason said that's not a good idea to get out that far in the pack. Here comes the rest of the pack behind him in a strong run down the back shoulder. Look at the run Nick Sant's going to get on the inside lane. He's going to go for it here. 3 wide for the lead down the back shoulder and into turn number 3. And that is something these drivers definitely have to practice with these faster cars compared to previous years here in Firecracker Week. Not to get too far. How fast these cars are compared to previous years. It's very easy to get way ahead of the entire pack, but that is something you do not want to do. And that last lap showed exactly why, as the veteran Nick Sant leads this time by with only 4 laps to go. This pack, returns 1 and 2, everyone in this pack, all 3 deep behind Nick Sant. Joe T, now was the driver there off turn number 2, helping Nick Sant form. Nick Sant moves up to the outside lane in front of Rodriguez. Brendan Beal, now the lead driver on the inside lane, helping the fellow forward of Ronald Kennington to 36. It seems to be the Fords really do like this inside lane. I've seen, even early in the race, we saw a lot of Fords on the inside lane, and now we have 4 Fords in this inside lane. As you would have heard back, Alexander Rowe and Alex Cass Stevens also back there as well on the inside lane. With 3 laps to go, Nixon maintains the lead, but now on the outside lane, Joe T is still on the inside lane into turn number 1 this time by. And Brendan Beal is going to move up to the middle in front of Wyatt Walker. That was a very surprising move to me, as again, Kennington and fellow Ford was behind him, but instead Beal elects to go with the dodge down the back straightaway in the closing portions of this race. Hernandez also back in this mix, but he'll be on the outside lane. He's trying to move down to the middle. Is he going to move down in time? Looks like he's not. Hernandez is going to remain stuck in the outside lane alongside Tim Simmons, 2 of the best drivers early on in this duel. Coming to 2 laps to go. Nixon maintains the lead, but now he has significant distance up above Joe T and Brian Rodriguez. Will both those 2 Toyotas capitalize here into turn number 1. Looks like both Rodriguez and Joe T are going to break away from the rest of the pack. Joe T gets a strong run there into turn number 2. He's probably going to take him right in front of in between both Nixon and Rodriguez. Never mind, he looks like he won't. There's not enough room for him to tuck in between both the 47 and 23 as you continue down the back straight into turn number 3 for this, into turns 3 or 4 for the second to last time. Nixon maintains the lead as the pack behind him calming down a little bit. Everyone else in the back of the pack is still 3 by 3. And coming this time by to the white flag here in duel number 1, Nixon maintains the lead. Rodriguez looks like Rodriguez is trying to find some space and trying to get a run on the outside when he does just that. Both from Brendan Beal, but into turn number 1, he once again remains side by side with Joe T. And with Ronald Kennington behind the 78, Joe T's going to get a strong run off turn number 2. Kennington peeked his nose to the inside there a little bit. It looked like he was going to try to make a move on the 78, but instead remains in tow. Down the back shoulder for the final time. Nixon moves down to the inside lane to block Joe T. And even though there's still a significant gap over Nixon in the rest of the field, so far things look good for Nixon. As off turn number 4, the 2023 Firecracker winner Nixon will win WeatherTech Duel number 1. A lot of drive from Nixon starting towards the back of the pack, towards the back of this field, and uses that time wisely to make his way up to the front and win WeatherTech Duel number 1 as he, Brian Rodriguez, and Joe T will all move on to tomorrow night's Fast 6. Definitely great effort there from Nixon as well as both the Toyotas of Brian Rodriguez and Joe T, as 3 of them will have a chance to claim the Firecracker 400 pole on Wednesday. It was definitely a decently exciting race. It was kind of nice. It was definitely very nice. I've called other NR races before. I've called some for Joe's and Staples leagues, but it was definitely nice to call one of my own races again after nearly a year, after Atlanta happening nearly a year ago. So we're gonna just let everyone roll down pit road, and I'll flash the finishing results very shortly. Alright, so I'll just do it now, screw it. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Finishing results for WeatherTech Duel number 1. Of course, as previously mentioned, Nixon, Brian Rodriguez, and Joe T will be the 3 that will advance to tomorrow night, to Wednesday night's, Fast 6, and contend for the Firecracker 400 pole. So definitely big congratulations to those 2, Chevy being Nixon, and 2 Toyotas of Rodriguez and Joe T. I've mentioned Toyotas, one of the best manufacturers so far in Firecracker League, as always judged by the practice speeds from both Saturday and yesterday's session. So I'm not too surprised that multiple Toyotas are giving this Fast 6, but I'm kind of surprised that Chevy and Nixon, who Chevy hasn't really shown that much speed in Firecracker League so far, but he's moving on to the Fast 6. As for everybody else, Brendan Beal is going to be the best of the rest, finishing 4th in the 4 car, followed by fellow Ford Ronald Kennington, and 2 of the Dodges here, Wyatt Rocker and Bradley Reed, following behind in 6th and 7th respectively. Anthony Hernandez, who was one of the best drivers at the entire race, is going to end up underwhelming 8th, and also the asterisk in Nixon, he went the most laps as well, I should add as well. But yeah, Anthony Hernandez, a driver who looked really strong in the early portion of this race, is going to fall down to 8th after getting stuck on the outside lane. Alexander Rowe 9th, Ronnie Marineski rounds off the rest of the top 10 in WeatherTech Duel number 1. And as for everybody else, Roberto Crown 11th, Cass Stevens 12th, Jackson Burgum 13th, starting up front. The 97 to Tim Simmons 14th, another big surprise. As like with Hernandez, he was up towards the front throughout most of the race, but got stuck at that outside lane, which is never really able to recover. Meanwhile, Tom Karsh gets 15th. Mr. Peto Man, another driver who started up towards the front, is going to finish third to dead last. While Frey in the 22 and Matthew Hubert, the reigning PSL champion, round off the rest of the field in WeatherTech Duel number 1. Let me just get a sip of water real quick, and I will start the starting lineups for WeatherTech Duel number 2. I will say, yeah, I was gonna click a sip of water. I have 2 water bottles next to me. But I will say one thing: if you commentate races for as long as I have, if you commentate the way I do, it does make your voice sore after a while. So yeah, whenever I record, I always make sure to have water and also plenty of mints on me to record, especially these longer races. But anyways, enough yapping out of the way. It's time to look at the starting lineup for WeatherTech Duel number 2. So here we go. On the pole is channel veteran Owen Miles and Exum Riley Spurling the 2. Row 2, the defending Firecracker winner Matthew Hill in the 90, and Jose Angel Gutierrez, a past Super Spreader winner on the channel. Row 3, Natalie Gillespie in the 20, and the 90, and then not the 97, the 5 of Nathan Stapleton. Row 4, the 62 of Tyler Carroll, and the only Dodge in this second duel, Philip Torres in the 46. Row 5, Viper Racing in the Viper Racing / Gaming in the 16. I even got it wrong here. Wow. And Eric Monaco in the 1. I did not mean to go that. Oopsie daisies. No, that was right. Okay. Row 6, Nathan Kidd in the 3, and Dylan Matthews in the 11. There we go. Row 7, Matthew Burnett in the 19, and the 51 of Ryan Wilson. Row 8, Caleb Rose in the 59, and the 84 of Jason Albert, 2 Kyle Busch tribute schemes in this row, fittingly row number 8 as well. And finally, row number 9, JNF in the 95, and the 42 of Alex Mullen. Next to each other. Okay. That was odd. That's really odd. Okay. Is it working now? Is it working now? It should be working now, hopefully. You see. Right. Hopefully it's working now. Alright, like I said, I'll restart this race entirely. Might as well. It's only fair. Yeah, okay, it's working. Alright, so sorry about that. Pretend those first 3 laps never happened. Okay. Alright, it's working. Nice. Just pretend that never happened. We're gonna have WeatherTech Duel number 2 for real. It's on my second live race. Alright, give me I didn't realize. Again, on my OBS, I have the starting tune and my screen recorder, or my display capture that captures this monitor, like back to back. So it can be pretty easy for me to screw up there. But anyways, for real this time, WeatherTech Duel number 2 is underway at Daytona. So there's that aggressive move from Gutierrez off turn number 3, that time by, forcing Riley Spurley up to the outside. That's going to make Spurley lose a lot of ground here early on coming to complete lap number 1. I just saw an aggressive dive to the bottom by Matthew Hill. Owen Miles continue to maintain the lead. And of course, you can mention over and over again, Matthew Hill is the defending Firecracker winner, but here's Nathan Gillespie looking at the inside of Matthew Hill, shoving the 90 car up to the outside. With Hill having absolute help on the outside lane there. That's going to make the defending Firecracker winner lose a lot of ground here. So far, it looks like no one. Well, of course, this only is lap number 2, so still some time in this duel. But she driver shows the middle of the pack being very aggressive. You saw how aggressive Gutierrez was when moving Riley Spurley out of the way, and you saw how just how aggressive Gillespie was when moving Matthew Hill out of the way. But coming to complete lap number 2 is Owen Miles once here with the lead. Gillespie tried moving down to the inside there, but the 62 of Tyler Carroll was there, and instead Gillespie settles to the outside lane in front of Matthew Hill. Carroll tried moving up to the middle there. Carroll moving up to the middle, trying to get some side draft off both the 20 and the 90. But now off turn number 2, ooh, barely. Carroll is able to move down to the inside in front of the 3 of Nathan Kidd. And speaking of that middle line, looks like Carroll, Kidd, and Burnett all move up to the outside lane. All move up to the middle line, I should say, before moving back down to the inside. Similar to our previous duel, barely anyone in the middle line, barely anyone in that third line with the 46 of Mopar, trying to get something going here, but it looks like no one is going with him. But coming to lap number 4, Miles continues to lead, with Gillespie on the lead driver, still being the lead driver on the outside line, with Miles moving up to the outside now into turn number 1. As Miles continues to lead, once again, here comes a strong run from the inside, with Tyler Carroll in the 62, with help from the 3 of Nathan Kidd. On the inside, 2 of the Chevys there, down the back straightaway. And I imagine Miles and Gillespie are going to probably work closer together as they can in this duel, of course, both being Toyotas. But here comes the 62 Carroll, trying to force up Gillespie to the outside of the track. We saw it with Spurley earlier, but so far Gillespie maintains the outside, moving down to the middle, coming to lap number 5. Miles still maintaining the lead. You saw Matthew Hill peeking himself a little bit out of the outside lane with, oddly enough, a Ford. That's Viper in the 16. Being a little aggressive on the fellow Ford there with Hill. As you continue down the back straightaway. Back still mostly 2x2, of still only a few instances of 3 wide in this pack. I just see Mopar still, you see the 46 of Torres, I should say, continuing to struggle to find anyone that can help him in that middle line, and that's going to come at the cost of both Eric Monaco and Ryan Wilson as well, from stuck towards the back of the pack. Didn't mean to go on board there, but on lap number 6, 10 laps to go in this duel. Miles maintains the lead, but Tyler Carroll is absolutely no help at all in the middle line, as both Kidd and Gillespie go 3 wide on the 62. But I was going to say that Viper is going to come out to help the 62, but as a result, that leaves Matthew Hill out to dry in the 90 car, as he has absolutely no hope whatsoever. So I'm going to get shuffled towards the back of the pack here. Meanwhile, your second place still remains 3 wide into turn number 3. Burnett peeking himself a little bit to the inside there. Don't make it 4 wide, please, in the duels. And especially, I mentioned Burnett. He got into an incident with the 66 car of Marinayski, caused damage to his car, but unlike other drivers last year, the 19 crew managed to repair that car, and I imagine even seeing Burnett even thinking about making that aggressive move, let alone just even seeing him attack, is making that team very gun-shy to make sure they don't have to do any more work on that car. Or repair any damage on that car, I should say. Meanwhile, off turn number 2, Owen Miles continues to lead, but moves up to the outside in front of Tyler Carroll. According with gap between those 2, into turn number 3, a huge run from Nathan Kidd and Burnett. With Miles thinking about moving down the block, but instead maintains the middle. Kidd still maintains the inside lane. Off turn number 4, looks like Miles will again move up to the outside in front of Carroll. Coming to lap number 8 before instead moving down to the inside. Kidd weaving Burnett out to dry in the middle. So far, Miles has been the only driver to lead. A lap here in this duel. Once again, Nathan Kidd with another strong run in the inside lane off for turn number 2. Peeking his nose to the inside of the 96. Just behind him is a fellow Chevy of Caleb Rose in the 59. Of course, I mentioned during the starting lineups that many of the drivers from our previous duel, including Nick Stanton, who won the duel, started towards the back of the field, but despite that, still won the duel. And we're seeing that with Caleb Rose, who of course was the driver started towards the back of the field, as well as Alex Bowen in the 42. So the drivers started towards the back of the pack, making the way up, making the way. Probably the best possible time. Well, it's not too early, but it's not too late either. But something we also saw during the last duel is just how detrimental it can possibly be for you to get way ahead of this pack. As Nathan Kidd goes for the lead on Owen Miles, just watch the run. Caleb Rose and JNF are going to get here down the back straightaway. As it looks like Rose is going to get shuffled out to the, is going to actually move up by JNF. Or I should say Rose is going to move up in front of Burnett. Oh, what a move by Caleb Rose, moving back down to the inside quickly in that corner as he get a strong run through turns 3 and 4 on both Miles and Kidd. Absolutely no help whatsoever off for turn number 4. As we're now 3 wide for the lead, coming to lap number 10 with 6 laps to go here in duel number 2. And that 3 wide is going to continue into turn number 1 as everyone in this pack is all 3 by 3. It looks like the benefactor of this 3 by 3 is going to be Caleb Rose off turn number 2. It takes it away. He takes it away from Nathan Kidd, who led last time by, but now Rose is going to move up to the outside in front of Miles. Here comes the 95 with JNF, all by, well, not all by himself now as the lead driver in the inside lane. With Alex Bowen right behind him, Rose trying to come down in front of JNF. But instead elects to remain in the middle. Here he comes to the inside, side by side for the lead once again off of 4. Now coming to 5 laps to go. Caleb Rose is going to lead his first lap of the day. Moves down in front of JNF, this time by off the tri-oval. I'm honestly really impressed how well Rose is able to walk the rest of this, all the drivers behind him, as they've gotten really strong runs off these corners, but still Rose has maintained his line, has maintained the lead despite shifting multiple lanes across this racetrack. Speaking of multiple lanes, both JNF and Mullen briefly moved up to the middle there, I should say. Well, from back down to the inside, but now Alex Mullen peeking his nose on JNF. He's going to make a 3 wide off on turn number 4. Coming to lap number 12 of 15. Under 4 laps to go, remain in this duel. Rose still maintains the lead. JNF still remains in second, but Alex Mullen is very... But Alex Mullen, watch the run from Alex Mullen. Alex Mullen's going to get off of 2 here. He's been trying to get around that 95 for the last several laps. Will this be the time he'll get around them? Oh, you see the 16 of Viper back there. Quickly shifting lane, briefly shifting lanes there. Sees Nathan Stapleton now shifting down to the middle of the track to the middle. As everyone, especially in that back of as everyone is trying to make as many moves as they possibly can, possibly get a better starting spot on Saturday night's race. But so far, Caleb Rose maintains the lead with just 3 laps to go. Once again up to the outside, back before moving back down to the inside. It was for 3 wide for a second. Here comes Mullen. I mentioned how much Mullen is trying to get around, how hard Mullen is trying to make a move on JNF. It looks like that time is now. As remains 3 wide down the back straight, Dylan Matthews behind the 42 car before Matthews peeks her nose to the outside before Mullen quick comes to block. Turn number 3. Oh, that's strong. And Alex Mullen continues to get a strong run on the inside lane. He's now right behind the 59 of Rose off for turn number 4 as Rose tries to move up to the outside in front of JNF. 2 laps to go this time by. And I think Rose, by doing that, actually gained a little bit of ground on the 42. But as I said, you definitely don't want to gain. You definitely do not want to be far ahead of the pack, especially the runs this 42 car continues to get going into these corners. And he's going to get a better run now. Here. 42 is definitely one to watch when it comes to getting strong runs in these packs, going into these corners. As he moves up to the outside in front of JNF, Dylan Matthews moves to the middle for the Gutierrez. Before moving back down to the inside in front of Jason Albert, of course, was stuck in the back for most of this race, but now he's up here towards the front of the pack to possibly improve his starting spot for Saturday night's race. Even if he won't have a chance, if he won't have a chance to be in the fast 6, there's still 1 lap lap to go here in duel number 2. Anything is still possible. With Rose and Mullen, the top 2 as things stand now. Here comes Mullen to the inside, looking to the inside of Rose. Side by side for the lead. I'm not sure this will be a really good decision for either one of them. Here comes a hard-charging Dylan Matthews and JNF coming in right behind, down the back straight for the final time. Here comes one of Eric Monaco making it 3 wide into turn number 3, trying to make one last charge to improve his starting spot for the summer's biggest race. But here's Dylan Matthews, peeking her nose to the inside of Alex, falling off turn number 4 from Mullen throws the block. We're trying to throw the block, but instead Mullen maintains the middle. It's going to be a 3 wide finish, coming to the line here at Daytona, coming to the line. Ooh, I think they're saying Caleb Rose is barely going to beat Mullen back to the line by just 3/100ths of a second. What's up with us always getting close finishes at super speedways? And even though on the back, even though unfortunately neither Matthews or Mullen won this race, they do join Caleb Rose and moving on to tomorrow night's Wednesday. I keep saying tomorrow night. Wednesday night's Fast 6. So definitely congratulations to Rose, Mullen, and Matthews for getting top finishes here in this duel. And of course, congratulations Caleb Rose for winning today's duel, or the second duel of today, I should say. Definitely cool that Kyle Busch tribute scheme gets a top finishing position in one of our races this week. So very cool for sure. So the Chevys continue to impress in these duels. Like I said during the finishing results of duel number 1, you think the Toyotas and the Fords that have shown speed throughout the entire week so far would be the ones to watch in these duels, but instead half this Fast 6 will all be Chevys. While Toyota will still make up the other half of the Fast 6, but no Fords will make up anyone, but no Fords at all in the Fast 6, so it's definitely kind of surprising for sure, at least to me. But anyways, let's take a look at the finishing results for WeatherTech Duel number 2. I didn't realize that slideshow did that, but anyways, I went through everything, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, so Caleb Rose, Alex Mullen, and Dylan Matthews will be the 3 drivers advancing from this duel race onto the Fast 6 on Wednesday night. So again, big congratulations to those two. And of course, Mullen just barely loses out on this duel by just 3/100ths of a second. One of the closest finishes on another very close finish on the channel. And these duels are no stranger to having close finishes. We had close finishes in 2023 as well, and I believe 2024 also in the WeatherTech Duel. So not too surprising, but still very exciting finish, especially coming to the line. Anyways, as for the best of the rest, Jason Albert gets 4th, followed by JNF, who was very much a factor at the end of that race. Eric Monaco, despite starting all the way in the back, is going to get 6th. Gutierrez, who of course made that very aggressive move earlier on Riley Spurley, is going to get 7th. And speaking of which, the latter is going to finish 8th, despite starting in the 2nd position. Ryan Wilson is going to get 9th on Nathan Ken, another driver who is very much a factor in the duel throughout this duel. He's going to finish in 10th. Now, Gillespie was a factor early on, was probably the best drafting partner for Owen Miles, who we'll get to later, is going to finish 11th. Defending Firecracker winner Matthew Hill's not going to get too good of a starting spot, as he'll finish 12th. Philip Torres, the only Dodge in this duel, will finish 13th. Tyler Carroll gets 14th. Nathan Stapleton 15th. And there's Owen Miles, who was by far and away the best driver in this duel. Led most of the laps in this race also. I forgot to add the asterisk, but Miles had to win most laps in this race. He's going to finish 16th, a very underwhelming finish there from Miles, and of course that will lead to a very underwhelming start for the channel veteran. And meanwhile, as for everybody else, Matthew Burnett is going to finish all the way down in 17th. He was also a factor towards the end of this race, but fortunately it was all for naught, as he'll finish 2nd to that last, for Viper into 16, will round off the rest of the field and the rest of the finishing results in these WeatherTech duels. So here we go. Here are the So, of course, here are your 6 drivers moving on to Wednesday night's Fast 6, which will be on this channel. Wednesday, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be this and the Firecracker will both be pre-recorded, so it won't be a live stream this time around. So the 3 drivers from duel number 1 will be Nick Sant, a Chevy, Well, I just go on the drivers and I mentioned manufacturers. From the drivers from the first duel moving on to the Fast Six will be Nick Sant, Brian Rodriguez, and Joe T. While the drivers from duel number 2 moving on is Caleb Rose, Alex Mullen, and Dylan Matthews. So three Chevys in Nick Sant, Rose, and Mullen, while the other three are Toyotas in Rodriguez, Joe T, and Matthews. Well, again, no Fords or Dodges for that matter either. But to be fair, Dodge only has 4 drivers. But Ford, despite showing speed throughout the entirety of both practice sessions we had yesterday and Saturday, will not participate in Fast 6 qualifying, will not have a chance for the Firecracker pole. So, of course, as previously mentioned, the Fast 6 qualifying will be on this channel at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. That will be pre-recorded alongside Saturday's main event, the summer's biggest race, the Firecracker 400 tentatively scheduled at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am going to monitor the O'Reilly race at Chicagoland because the TV. I looked at the TV window for that. That ends around 8 o'clock. I'll look. As it says here, dates and times are subject to change. I will still do this on the 4th. Hopefully, still do this on the 4th of July, but the start time might change. I'm going to monitor the situation with the O'Reilly race at Chicagoland as the TV window for that ends at 8 o'clock. So be sure to join the Discord and stay tuned throughout my other socials for any updates, for the starting time for the Firecracker 400 that might come into question. But as for things stand now, the summer's biggest race on America's 250th birthday will be at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But as always, y'all, thank you guys for watching these WeatherTech Duels. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see y'all Wednesday for the Fast 6 qualifying to determine the Firecracker 400 starting lineup as well as Rose 1